What's up YouTube, it's me again, your friendly neighborhood fish keeper, and today I wanted to talk about the flowerhorn cichlid. Specifically, I wanted to tell you why you should probably think about picking one up. I've been keeping flowerhorns for 3, 4, 5 years now. Wow. I've been keeping flowerhorns for 5 years now, and I absolutely love them. They're one of my favorite cichlids. They are a designer cichlid. They're not a wild type cichlid. But in this video, I want to talk about the flowerhorn, kind of where it comes from, why it's cool, and some things you should think about if you want to get a fish like this. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the flowerhorn is a designer cichlid. In other words, it's a cichlid that was hybridized from a bunch of different other cichlids. If you look in the wild, you won't see this fish naturally occurring, although it is introduced in some places. The exact species that they use to combine to make the flowerhorn is still unknown as far as I know, but some big candidates are members of the Amphilophus genus, so fish like the trimac, for example, the parrot cichlid, which is another designer cichlid, and then fish from the Vieja genus, like the redhead, the Synspillum. There are 3 different kinds of flowerhorns. I only know about 2, and that's the red dragon, the Zenzao. They have red eyes, and then there's the Kampha flowerhorn, and I think that the Zenzao is thought to be more based in Amphilophus, and the Kampha is based more in the Vieja. You can tell that by the body shape. The Kampha flowerhorns take longer to mature, and then the Zenzao flowerhorns mature a lot faster and are ready to breed a lot faster. So that's a bit about the history of flowerhorns. Next, let's talk about the caring for flowerhorns. So, flowerhorns are some of the most personable fish you'll ever keep. They can be taught tricks, like I taught my flowerhorn a trick a long time ago. I taught her how to jump out of the water to grab her food. I did this every night before bed, freshman year of college, and it was probably the most joy I've gotten out of fish keeping. But then also they'll chase you around the tank, they'll interact with you through the glass. They are pretty aggressive, so it's not that they love you so much as they want to kill you, but in terms of fish keeping, it's still really, really fun to interact with them. They are bottomless pits when it comes to feeding, so if you want to feed like pellets, if you enjoy feeding, which I do, feeding is one of my favorite parts of the hobby, then you'll love this fish. But if you enjoy feeding live foods, this fish will absolutely decimate them. I used to feed my flowerhorn shrimp, and sometimes I would feed them guppies from time to time. And anytime a fish dies of natural causes, I'll also feed those to the flowerhorns, and they absolutely love them. Another thing that is great about flowerhorns is they are just such gorgeous fish. They have this blue purling in the body, and they have the males have this giant nuchal hump on their foreheads, also known as a coke. It's spelled K-O-K. They're really, really, really cool and beautiful fish, and it's said that the bigger the coke, the more good luck that the flowerhorn will offer you. They also have a beautiful black flower marking on their coke oftentimes, and I'll show you where that comes from. And so that is the flower part of the flower horn. The coke is the horn, and then that flower there is how they got their name. Absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous fish. Watching them display to one another is one of honestly one of the joys of the hobby. I'll include a video here of a flowerhorn I used to have paired off with a red devil, and you can see just how pretty they look when they're doing their little breeding dance. So next up, let's talk about some things you should think about before getting a flowerhorn. One of the things you should think about before getting a flowerhorn is just how aggressive they are. I have right now a community aquarium that contains 4 juvenile flowerhorns and 4 electric yellow labs. Those are Malawi cichlids, and they've been doing fine. They've been pretty good, pretty happy together. But I know that it's only a matter of time before I have to get rid of most of them and only have 1 flowerhorn left. Because they do get really aggressive as adults. They should typically be only kept in a flowerhorn only tank, as in just a single individual, or as a pair, as a member of a pair with either another flowerhorn or another member of one of the species that they were hybridized with. That said, if you want to sell flowerhorns, if you want to breed and sell flowerhorns, you should only breed flowerhorns with other flowerhorns. I bred mine with a red devil, and I absolutely loved the produced offspring, the produced fry, but they weren't nearly as beautiful as the parent flowerhorn. So if you want to keep the flowerhorn line pure, you're going to want to breed flowerhorns with other flowerhorns, and in that case, you only want to keep flowerhorns with another female flowerhorn. Another thing to consider is that they get pretty big. Flowerhorns can get to be up to a foot long. I've never personally seen a flowerhorn that was that big, but I've seen them, 8 to 10 inches, and they are really deep-bodied fish. They're probably another, the size of your hand, if not like twice that height sometimes the males can be. So that's something to consider. You need a big tank for an adult, a fully sized adult flowerhorn. You're thinking about, a 75-gallon, maybe a 55-gallon for one individual. And then for a juvenile, maybe like I have some juveniles in a 37-gallon tall, and that works for me. But right now they're really small. They're just a couple of inches. They're hiding right now. Let's see if I can get one to come out for the camera. Oh, I'm gonna feed you guys. You can see them. They're not that big yet. Oh, see, he's trying to bite me. He did bite me. Jesus Christ. See, at this size, they're pretty feisty, pretty food-motivated fish. Wow, that kind of hurt. So yeah, that's something to consider. Another thing to consider, I guess, is that point right there. If you have a fish that big and you're not used to keeping fish that big, they can hurt you. If that little guy nibbled me and he was a foot-long fish, he would have drawn blood, and that would have been a really bad day for me. That said, it's not that hard to keep big fish. At least not from that aspect. Just be careful when you're doing water changes. I'll include a clip here of what an aggressive cichlid looks like when it's trying to tear you apart. And yeah, it can be no joke, but as long as you're careful and as long as you're aware of these things going in, you should be fine. So now let's get into a little bit of a conclusion. Ultimately, I would highly recommend picking up a flowerhorn as long as you are conscious of just how big they get and what their care requirements are. They're really hardy fish, they're really beautiful fish, they're really fun fish to keep. They are such a unique member of the hobby. They're considered wet pets. Them and Amphilophus members, they are absolutely amazing pets. They come up to the tank and kind of wag their tail at you like they're a little dog. It's a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun to keep. But I would highly recommend you plan ahead, plan to get a big tank if you don't already have one, because these guys will need some space. They'll need, space is probably their biggest requirement. They don't really need crazy water quality. They don't need crazy foods. They eat anything you put in a tank. They're pretty hardy. They just need, regular water change regimen, but they do need space as they get older. So anyway, that's my video on the flowerhorn cichlid. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and comment if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you want to see more, if you have a specific species you'd like me to go over, just let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care and tank on, guys.